As human beings, we're the only species stupid enough to actually poison ourselves. As part of modern living, we create a wide variety of chemical toxins that go into the ecosystem, through rivers and streams, the air, the soil, and so on. Not only that, we actually synthesize toxic chemicals and then inject them directly into the food supply, knowing full well that they are poisonous and are major contributors to the epidemic rates of chronic disease we are experiencing today. What are these chemicals I'm talking about? Well, you're about to get a whirlwind tour of humanity's toxic chemicals. And if you look at toxic chemicals, you have to start in the realm of dentistry, because in no other profession, save medicine, will you find the use of so many toxic chemicals that are deliberately prescribed to patients or injected into their bodies. We're talking about, of course, mercury fillings and fluoride dripped into the public water supplies. When we talk about mercury fillings, you have to keep in mind that mercury is simply one of the most toxic substances that you can put into the human body, aside from radioactive substances. Right now, dentists all across the country and around the world are taking this highly toxic metal and literally putting it into the teeth of human beings. Those teeth are then used to chew food, and as the person chews, they effectively grind away the surfaces of these mercury fillings. These fillings release gas mercury vapor and mercury particles, which people then breathe into their lungs or digest in their stomachs. That's not the end of the toxicity in the world of dentistry. We also have dentists pushing for, get this, the dripping of a highly toxic chemical waste product into the water supply, a substance that's scraped off the smokestacks of industrial polluters. They want every person in the community to actually drink this substance. This material is a toxic waste that's regulated by the EPA. It would be illegal to drip it into a river or a stream, but for some reason, it's perfectly legal to drip it into the public water supply and let people drink it. It's a bizarre cycle of rationalization that can only be called medical lunacy. They no longer consider this toxic substance toxic if it passes through the bodies of human beings first. What substance am I talking about? Fluorosilicic acid, otherwise known by its short name fluoride. Across the country and around the world, dentists are insisting that we drip fluoride into public water supply. For what purpose? To protect the teeth. Can you be serious? People are swallowing this liquid. They're not rinsing it in their mouth and spitting it out. They're ingesting it. Now as a result, we have fluorosis and bone disorders that are related to the overconsumption of fluoride. Again, we are the only species stupid enough to actually poison ourselves, and we do it in highly efficient ways. If you want to poison a population, there's no easier way than to drip a substance into the water supply. And if you really want to make sure everyone is poisoned, you would pass laws that mandate the dripping of this poison into the water supply, which is what we have with the fluoridation laws. That would ensure that everybody gets some, whether it's an infant, an adult, or a senior citizen. This is increasingly what is happening across the United States and around the world. There's absolutely no good science behind any of the fluoride arguments. Even if they were using genuine natural fluoride, there are no studies that show the ingestion of fluoride decreases the incidence of dental cavities in modern society. Yet this myth persists in the dental community, and the American Dental Association stands firmly behind this national poisoning agenda. They will call anybody who disagrees with it a nut, and they will say that every population must be fluoridated, for their own good, of course. That's the only way to ensure they have healthy teeth, the logic goes. So now we are really stupid as a species because we've poisoned our mouths, our water supply, our food, our beverages, and even our shampoos and personal care products. And if you use dry sheets, then you've poisoned your clothes as well. They're coated in a layer of toxic chemicals found in dry sheets. So what else could we use to poison the population? There are still many other options. One way would be to sell a toxic chemical that people voluntarily put into their mouths because another person in a position of authority told them to do so. This is described in the prescription drug industry, where people are poisoning themselves each and every day with toxic painkiller drugs like COX-2 inhibitors or toxic anti-cholesterol drugs like statin. People are poisoning their minds with antidepressant drugs that promote violent behavior and suicides. They're poisoning their cardiovascular system with beta blockers and other drugs. And of course they're poisoning their livers. And yet people volunteer to do this. Each and every day they will put these toxic chemicals into their bodies simply because someone with a degree from a school of disease, also known as a medical school, told them to do so. And not only that, they will actually pay for the privilege of poisoning their own bodies. They'll pay good money too, not just a few $100s a month, but several thousands of dollars a month. Some people will spend 6 figures a year poisoning their bodies because some doctor told them to do so. We as a species actually have a class of professionals, highly paid professionals, who we give the right to poison us with toxic chemicals. These people are called doctors. I call them drug dealers. Just like illegal drugs, their drugs kill people. The main difference is that these legal drugs enrich politically influential corporations, whereas illegal drugs enrich drug lords. Our national war on drugs is quite selective in its targets, don't you think? Industrial hemp is outlawed, but doping up millions of children on powerful narcotics is perfectly legal. It's called Ritalin. Is it any wonder, with all of the poisoning going on at all the different levels in our bodies, that we are now the most chronically diseased population that has ever been recorded in the history of civilization? It's true. There is no population that has suffered from diseases like they do today in America. You would have to be clinically insane to not think that there's a correlation between the poisons we are putting into our bodies and the diseases we are getting as a result. Plus, as recent studies have shown, America is the #1 nation in terms of mental disorders. They're also #1 in obesity, #1 in diabetes, #1 in cancer. They also have the highest healthcare costs in the world, the most expensive drugs, and they have more doctors and healthcare professionals per capita than any country in the world. And frighteningly, they're the country with the most nukes. Great idea, huh? Put the nuclear weapons under control of the most mentally disturbed population on the world. So not only are we the most stupid species on the planet because we're poisoning ourselves, we are simultaneously the cleverest species because we find ways to justify all that poisoning. We find scientific gobbledygook to claim that yes, NutraSweet is good for you, or that these chlorine atoms attached to sugar are great for you, or that mercury in your mouth somehow doesn't have a toxic effect on your body, or that hydrogenated oils are perfectly fine for your heart health. We stupidly say, if you take those and you drink this weight loss shake made with sugar, you'll be healthy. And if you have this barbaric surgical procedure called gastric bypass surgery, you'll no longer be obese. And if you're not healthy, don't worry. We have magic bullet prescription drugs that will make you even healthier. So we're a clever population at the same time that we're incredibly stupid. Do you know what that's called? That's called being a population of great technicians and lousy healers. And that's exactly what we are today.